with the National Archives. That's the investigation that we know the Trump team has been cooperating with because the archives says
sound
so.
check. What's good?
Former President Trump, in that statement tonight, says there has been cooperation, which is why he's questioning and calling it inappropriate that a search warrant would be executed at his home.
All right. I want to bring in now Zeke Miller. He is a White House correspondent he is the White House correspondent for the Associated Press. He's also
hearing 1 2 1 2. Sound check going to be starting soon. Glad I did a sound check. I don't know why I have two sources of audio.
Also a contributor to CBS News. Zeke, we just heard Scott say that the archives say that the former president has been cooperating, but we also know that many records that are usually kept by White House staff have been missing. What more can you tell us?
You know, it's not just that these records were kept by Trump after he left the White House. It's that some of those records, according to the archives and others, and some of the independent referrals that have been taking place afterwards, appear to have been classified. And that's the other wrinkle here.
Just getting started. Sound check. Just getting started.
As well, and there's the Presidential Records Act, which governs and very strictly how presidential documents have to be maintained under the custody of the American people, of the federal government, for posterity. But then there's also potentially the separate issue of classification. And there's a whole separate regime that exists for how to maintain classified documents. And we all learned a whole lot about that back in 2016 when then candidate Donald Trump made a lot of hay over former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's use of a private email system and of government records, and then also potentially some classified communications that took place on that system.
1 2.
If this is
okay, I've had about enough of that. 1 2. Cyrus here. We are in uncharted territory. It never happened. And to my knowledge, this has never happened in the history of our country. We are in uncharted territory. There is no historical precedent. So there's nothing to even base it on. If you don't know the news, then you probably are just now getting online for the first time, probably haven't turned on the TV. We hear the FBI doesn't like the word raid, but that's what happened. FBI raided Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago. So things are getting serious. It's escalating. Remember today's date. We are living a history book right now. The country will never be the same again. It will never be. We are now in the after times. This is another landmark to another date. I think in March 2020, J6, and I'm going to talk about J6 in a second. J6 and then 8/8. It will escalate from here, but 8/8 is the day where we saw things when the FBI has to call the Secret Service of a former president and someone who could run for president again. Never happened before. Never has the FBI have to call the Secret Service to tell them we're running up in your boy's crib. Get out the way. That's what happened. My first takeaway is things are going to get crazier. The number one thing is not to fall for the okey doke. They're trying to gaslight everyone. This is just a residual. They're trying to do a lot. But one of the things that they're trying to do is gaslight people into doing something stupid so you can get those shackles real quick. It's not the time for anything that is unsophisticated. So if you are having Neanderthalish type thoughts, and I doubt that's going to be in the channel, I'm just saying that in general, then you are really a liability to me and to everybody. They have the power of the state. And when I say state, I'm talking about like how libertarians say state, the centralized power of the federal government. This is a government that is supposed to only operate at the will of the states. So what's happened is, it's like the meme. You've got a little lizard. You're walking around like, oh, it's cool. We got the federal government and it's like our pet. And now you have a Tyrannosaurus Rex that is wrecking shop. This thing is not run by the states. This thing is its own entity. It's a monster. And that's what we're seeing. Cannot be gaslit. Thanks for stopping by. Just, I don't really have anything prepared. It's just to get this off. I'll probably be here for a while because I'll be checking Twitter. I would be checking Twitter and stuff anyway before going to bed, so might as well go live. Thanks for stopping by. Peace. When I say peace, I mean like really, I'm not out. I'm saying like peace. That they want you to fall for some type of okie doke. That's my first initial thought. And we're already seeing, I've been seeing things where I'm like, man, y'all are going way, way too far. Giving people an excuse. That's all January 6th was. It was a trap. I'm mad at myself for not saying it was. I know Alex Jones is mad at himself for not saying it was before. He didn't realize it until he was there. Then he realized it was a trap. I do believe that. Who knows? But I believe that. Because Alex Jones would normally be the guy to say, no, don't fall for that. He said that many times. Nobody's perfect. He fell for it. I believe that because he really put himself in, he really risked things to be there. We've seen different moments where we know that things were serious. Trump getting banned from Twitter was very, 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 very serious. And all major social media was very, very, very serious. Looking back at it, it's more serious than a lot of people gave it credit for. And it's leading up to this slowly to this midterm. So my number one thing is, through all of this, is just peace. And I'm going to go through the chat here in a second and then go over some of the news, some of the pieces that I'm piecing together. Hopefully we can crowdsource. If you got information, I'll be seeing it in the chat and we can kind of chronicle where our thoughts are on 8/8, a monumental day in the history of the United States. I don't know if it's going to be necessarily, it looks bad, but I don't know. We'll see. So that takes me to my second takeaway. First takeaway is peace. And you have to be openly advocating for peace. You can't be like, oh, I'm not talking anything else. No. You need to be openly, I would err on the side of somebody having to say, bro, I get it. You're peaceful. If somebody says that, then I know you're in the right direction. This is just my opinion. People can do whatever they feel need to do. And I've been proven wrong about some things. I'll talk about that later on in this live if you can hang out. Things that I've been opened up to. Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example. I've never been against her, but I did criticize her for being performative. And I actually think she's brilliant in that area now. So I've turned around a little bit on that. So the number one thing is peace. The number two thing is hope. And I'm not going to be saying hope like Obama in 08. I'm saying hope with grounded in truth. I'm never going to be just saying hope for hope's sake, other than faith in God. That will never go. It doesn't matter. What I'm talking about is hope that people will win in the end. And there are many reasons to be hopeful. Michael Malice talks about this a lot. He says, we are not up against the best. These people are not. I just played the clip of Nancy Pelosi. I mean, she's not the head, but she's one of the representatives, the politicians high up. These are not impressive people, number one. Number two, when someone is lying, so we're playing a chess match, and one side is clearly, you can say both sides might be pushing the line, that's fine, but one side is clearly lying, cheating, smearing, and being more aggressive. That's the losing side. So we're playing a game of chess, and things are not looking good for them right now. They think they have the long game. I don't know if they have the long game. I don't know if they have immigration on lock like I thought they did. Some of the strongest people, some of the people more forceful about liberty and loving this country, I'm seeing are immigrants. Now, I'm not seeing, freshly coming over illegally, but there are immigrants, and my parents are immigrants. I'm first generation born in the United States. My parents are legal. But whether it's legal or not, I am seeing, you can see, let me play this clip, first clip. These are, the reason why I'm starting out with this, these are white pills. So, Cuban Americans have always been typically Republican. So this is nothing new. But I'm seeing Latinos, I'm seeing people who I kind of chalked up as, not everybody, but more of them would maybe align with Democrats. They are not rolling that way. And I think it's that God issue. I think that's a big problem for the Democrats. If you believe in God, you can't be a corporate Republican or Democrat right now. You just can't. That's a big problem. So that's a white pill. So be peaceful. And then I'm not saying hope for hope's sake. I'm saying hope because there is a lot of you can't hide from the truth. You can't run from God. Here's a Cuban American on the same day that the FBI runs up in the crib of Donald Trump. And then I'm going to go to that next. This ain't about Donald Trump. I'm not going to let anybody make it be about Donald Trump. For me, I don't have the stomach for it. So I'm going to take it to the hope, and then I'm going to play this. I'm going to play this clip, and then I'm going to talk about why, for me, this ain't got nothing to do with Trump.
I think this is really wrong because, okay, if this happened with Trump, why has not happened before with Hunter? Everybody know what he's doing when he's locked up. Why is not doing with big guy, like somebody know who is? Why is not doing something to him? Why is not doing to Nancy Pelosi? Why is not doing to her too? Because her husband, it was, the other day he was arrested for DUI, and she went to Taiwan, and the same day that he's supposed to go into court. And what happened? He's out. He's freedom. That's something wrong. I think this.
That is reportedly a Cuban American in Florida on the same day. So reported by the Post Millennial, a Cuban woman who was outside Mar-a-Lago questions why the FBI raided Trump but not Hunter Biden. Historically, Cuban Americans have been voting Republican. They are going MAGA. They're not going corporate Republican. I mean, they would rather corporate Republican than Democrats. Me, personally, I don't give a damn. If I think you're a corporate Republican, you are a Democrat. I do not care at all. So maybe I'm wrong, but for example, Dr. Oz, I don't give a damn about his race. To me, I couldn't care less about Dr. Oz's race against a guy who's, he's not even doing well health-wise. That shows you how, Fetterman in Pennsylvania, he had the heart, wish him the best in health. But John Fetterman, he's barely, I only saw him out there once, and that was like months ago. I haven't seen him in a long time. He's been beating up Oz on Twitter, but I haven't seen his face a lot. But my point is, these Cubans look to be going MAGA. That's a significant difference. Because they could go, we're corporate Republicans, we don't like MAGA. There was no guarantee that Cubans, Venezuelans, whoever, there's a mix of immigrants in Florida and throughout the country. There was no guarantee that they were going to go MAGA. And what I like is MAGA doesn't even really, Steve Bannon will mention kind of demographics, but they don't really change things to try and pander to a group. And there's certain people that respect that. And then I'm going to talk about why it's not about Trump and then read the comments. I've not been able to read the comments. I just have to get this off. I don't want to break my thought here. This is not about Donald Trump for me. It's nothing to do with Donald Trump. It absolutely has nothing to do with Donald Trump. And I don't mean to be insensitive, but I couldn't care less if Donald Trump got hemmed up for something. The problem I have is why. Why is he getting hemmed up? So if Donald Trump had done something, got hemmed up, and it was on some other stuff, and it had nothing to do with this battle of people over this Tyrannosaurus Rex that has become our federal government, if it was something separate from that, I couldn't care less. Trump and Bannon started this thing, and it's way bigger than them. There's so many other people who can take this mantle and go on. And they would be a figurehead too. This is not about Trump. This is not about a guy who has always been a corporate Democrat his whole life, no real ideology. This isn't about him. This is about why they're going after him. I just talked about the plan that he leaked, or people around him leaked, about the Schedule F. F as in you're fired. Firing the administrative state, the deep state. You can say what you want about could Trump do that or could Trump not. Have you ever heard anyone say anything like that in your life? I have to go back and research Andrew Jackson. He is the only one, and he was a Democrat. He's the only one that I ever heard even come in and talk in those type of terms. So whether he did it or not, or would do it or not, because he obviously didn't do it, the fact that he's openly talking about it and forcing the corporate media to talk about it, to open everybody's eyes up to how things are working and why things aren't changing, that is a threat to them, a political threat to them. And when you add all these things up, he is the biggest threat to the globalist movement in the world as far as a figurehead. You take Trump out, you still have the movement. That's not stopping anything. They're trying to scare people from, we are going after Trump so hard, who would want to have that mantle? DeSantis, would you want those problems? So if you run for president, maybe you won't be a real populist. You'll be kind of half and half. Carrie Lake running for governor. Do you really want those problems? I know she's at the state level. I think that's what it's about. That's why I have a problem. And the thumbnail, I fully believe when Trump says that. I fully believe he was right. Absolutely accurate. It's not me. They're after everyone else. He's the way through. They can't, if they could snap their fingers and put everyone, lock them up, audit their taxes, federal raid on them, they could. They just can't. They're outnumbered. And it doesn't even make practical sense. So what can they do? They can go after Trump and then scare everyone else to say. And I already said I would rather vote for DeSantis. I already said if I had to vote today, I'm voting for Comic Dave Smith. I'm not even voting for Trump at this point. The problem is I don't have any beef with Trump. So when I say I don't care what would happen with Trump if he had something else outside of this, that doesn't mean I don't like. I have nothing against him. So even if you have that position, and that is the ideology of dividing people, even if you have the position that I'm neutral on Trump, then that puts you in this group. So peace. Oh, there's a lot of reason to be hopeful and grateful in the long term. Short term, I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm not going to lie about the short term. On the short term, we heading into some crazy stuff right now. When I say hope, I mean long term. And what does that mean? I don't know. 10 years plus? I'm just throwing out numbers. The next 5 years are going to be crazy. That's for sure. There's no way around that. So let me go to the thought. I have plenty more thoughts, but for people to take some time on a crazy day like this to stop through and to not read comments would be a travesty. Thanks a lot for stopping by. I'm just going through. Bob Meyer says DeSantis, thumbs up. Let's go. Let me talk about DeSantis for a second. I have questions. It was reported through the Florida Standard that Ron DeSantis did not know. He did not know that this FBI raid was going to go on. I don't know what that means. I want to know what that means. Because Ron DeSantis looks to run a tight ship. He was ousting Andrew Warren, the Hillsborough DA. I forget the exact title, the attorney, the district attorney, county attorney. And nothing leaked. He runs a tight ship. Where did those agents come from? How could he not know? And what's going on with Trump? Like, I don't know. They called the Secret Service, so the Secret Service, they were the first ones to know. I just need to know. I don't know all the ins and outs of anything, communication like that. And like I said, I don't think that's ever happened before. I mean, Watergate wasn't, when they ran up on Nixon, that was not authorized. Or where Nixon did it. So I'm not accusing Ron DeSantis of anything. I think Ron DeSantis is a boss. I just want to know what happened there. If he did not know, then he has to change things. Every governor, Texas is the next one. So you've got Florida, then Texas. Those are the two states I trust the most when it comes to liberty. So Abbott, you got to look into it. If somebody wants to run, if the federal government wants to run up in someone's crib, at the level of a former president, you better know, bruh. So Ron DeSantis better know. That is one of my top questions out of this. I got a lot of questions. The National Archives? What the? The National Archives? That's what you're running up into the house of a former president for? My goodness. School the world, thank you for stopping by. I know exactly what this is, to send a message to the strong ultra mega candidates that have been nominated. Yes. If we can do this to him, then we can do this to you, and that is the message. I think that is the clear message. They see what's happening with Kari Lake. They can't stop it. They can't. They're not founded in truth. So they have to make ground up in truth by lying, hiding, stealing, cheating, smearing. People see it, and they don't believe it. They're not tuning into them anymore. So they can't hold on to that forever. And you see Kari Lake rising, and they don't know how to stop it. So they're desperate right now. And that gives me a white pill. I mean, does that give you optimism? I mean, it really does to me in a weird way. Ray Studios, what's up? We just did the live earlier today. Thanks for stopping by, man. Who knew when we were talking aliens and the moon landing being faked allegedly, that we would be talking about the FBI running up. As we were doing that show, the FBI was in his crib. They were there all day today from the reports. If you're just stopping by, the FBI, no big deal. Just the FBI stopping by the crib of a former president. The National Archives is what the search warrant was for? Really? Man. I'm looking through the chats here just to see what's going on. Nancy Pelosi's son accompanied her to Taiwan. How did that come up? I did not hear that. Seen that in the chat. Thanks. That was from Sign Deb. Yep. Bob says, fill your sandbags and get ready. I think right now is the time for That's just my natural personality. So I could be, going to the default that I know, but I think now is the time for to be calm. No need to rush into anything. There's nothing you can do really like immediately. This is a long-term thing. I will say this. We are at the point of no return though. Because I have been trying to say, let's stay on your principles. I know this is kind of like a political shoving match that's happening, and one side is getting dirtier and dirtier with different tools and whatever they're using. And I've been making the case, stay on your principles and you will wake people up. I still say that, but I can't. What can I say now? So for people, I've been saying if MAGA gets control in the midterms, and I would not assume that there's going to be a midterm election. I would not assume that. But let's say there is a midterm. I would not assume there's going to be a general in 2024. I would not assume that. Let's say there is a midterm election and MAGA gets some influence. It's still going to be a majority corporate Republicans. But if you have enough MAGA and real MAGA, then the corporate Republicans can't do anything significant because MAGA would have enough numbers, maybe in the Senate too, to hold things up. And a lot of people say they would do impeachment and these type of revenge things. And I'm like, well, I want you to work on waking people up and getting positive momentum about what you're about, abolishing the ATF. Marjorie Taylor Greene already has a bill on that. Undoing some of this nonsense. Putting forth a case to the country for why you should vote for a MAGA president and let us have power. Give that case to the public so you get momentum going into the general election. That's what I would want, because they're not going to pass any legislation. They won't have a majority big enough in the Senate to do a veto over the president. It's just impossible. It's not going to happen. So it's going to be gridlock until the general. So what do? They're talking about, well, you've got to hem up, you've got to impeach Biden, all that stuff. I said, no, don't do that. I can't say that anymore. I'm going to look like a fool. They brought the FBI up into the crib of Donald Trump. I can't make that case anymore. I'm about that, but how am I going to look if somebody says they brought the FBI up into the crib of Donald Trump? When MAGA gets in charge, the FBI has to be purged, and then they're going to want the FBI running up in the crib of whoever else. I don't want that, but at this point, I look like a fool to try and talk them out of that. So this overplaying their hand of the cabal is only going to lead to people who I think are good-hearted populists wanting political revenge. We are at the point of no return. You can't go back from this. You can't go back to a normal functioning government. And I started to see it with the impeachment stuff. And we're in that mode now. There is no way you will ever see a country run the same way it was in 2012. Ain't gonna happen. No way, no how. It's anything's possible, but I think it's so unlikely I would label the odds as basically impossible. You are pushing the populist right into authoritarianism. That's what's happening. That's what the cabal is doing. Don't have power to do it, but hypothetically, if something, you snap the finger and the populist right had power today, they would want to do everything that the cabal did against them. Jailing people, all that stuff. And I would be against it, but what would you want me to do? What would you want me to say? It's almost like there's tension in some type of altercation, and then one person actually starts swinging, and then I'm going to be like, don't swing back? Nobody's going to, and that's what I would say. That's what I would feel. I'm like, I don't want any type of conflict like that. But they're going to look at me like I'm crazy. Like, they're going to be like, I didn't do, they're the aggressors. That's where we are now. So Trump hasn't been indicted or anything like that. But obviously that's where they're trending and heading with this. They're heading to that direction. Ryan M. And I do see Nathaniel Erskine in there. But Ryan M., I am convinced the Democrats are wanting to destroy our nation, all part of the plan to fundamentally change America. It is clear that they want to destroy, I don't think they view it as destroying the nation. I think they view it as maintaining what the status quo always was. I maintain that all Donald Trump did was wake people up to what has already been going on. Now, I know a lot of y'all might have already been awake. You guys were woke, like not like the left woke. You were really like what the hip hop, origins of the word are woke. You were really aware of what was happening. I was not until Trump. I was just chatting with somebody about fake news, and they were like, damn, when Trump started talking about fake news, a lot of people, including myself, thought it was, just like a political thing, just something that resonated, but, just something to say, almost like Obama hope, or what was his other change, it was just, I thought it was just something like very innocuous or, just a political slogan. Turns out fake news is soft. You might have to say evil news, consciously evil news, consciously manipulative, trying to manipulate you news. Fake news doesn't even begin to describe what's happening. Without Trump, a lot of people like myself wouldn't even wake up. And I was pretty neutral. I wasn't against Trump, and I didn't like Trump. And he woke me up. So yeah, there's a lot going on. I see in the chat people are talking about some things. We still have the Russia, Ukraine. We still have China acting a fool while this is going on. China clearly they don't like kinetic issues. So like real gunfire and all that, which is great. I don't want that either. But if they don't make a move on Taiwan now, when would they do it? The United States is in chaos. But when you hear people talking about third world governments, that is not an exaggeration. I think people in chat do. But I don't know if everyone, normies, realize how dangerously close we came to serious civil problems from a government standpoint. When the FBI, I don't know how it works. It sounds like it was a call. When the FBI calls the Secret Service to say we rolling up in the crib, that you look at how that plays out in other countries, things are flying at that point. It's like, okay, you can, but things will fly. That's how crazy that was. Now, thankfully, that didn't happen, but that's how crazy that was. You had executive branch against executive branch. Literally heads up. From what I've seen, before I went live, Joe Biden claims he didn't know. That's what I saw. I'm going to look that up to make sure I'm giving accurate information. But I saw that. That's last I heard. Obviously, I do not believe that. This is executive branch on executive branch crime is what we're seeing. And never have we seen that where, period, but especially with a president that could run for president again. Very unique situation. Not to mention, we know for a fact they spied on him illegally before he became president up until he became president. We know all this stuff now. We know the Russia smears and Russiagate, complete lie, the dossier, complete lies. There are more Durham cases coming on that. Durham, I think, is going to try one himself. Talked about Sussman on the channel, how that exposed Hillary called the code red, according to Sussman. So I'm putting it in my words, but that's what was said in the trial. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We haven't even gotten into Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and we haven't gotten to Joe Biden and showers. We haven't gotten to Joe Biden and his dealings with Hunter. Man, there's so many different things. It's hard to even keep track of it. So the more thoughts, give me your thoughts. Everyone, School the World says the CCP is manipulating the USA from across the globe, so they have no problem controlling Taiwan. And just to show you how the CCP is extremely smart, they don't want, and I think the reason why School the World says it like that is because it's like the CCP is like, we don't do bullets. That's a waste of time. So what happened here? Story talked about it with Ray Studios. China is a place where a lot of big American companies do business, from Tesla to Apple to Hollywood to universities, and they are beholden to that money. So they're serving two masters. And right now, at least in the case of Apple, it looks like the master that they're serving is not the U.S. This is a national security threat. It's funny. I did that video reply to Caitlin Johnstone because I don't think that she views China through the proper lens of the threat that it is. And we're seeing the power of China right now. Apple asks suppliers in Taiwan to label products as made in China. Why? Because China said so. Why? Because if they didn't, they would have to pay fines for each item they tried to import, or they would not be able to import through China. So Apple has asked manufacturers on the island of Taiwan to label components bound for mainland China as made in Chinese Taipei or Taiwan, China, because China said so. Can you imagine that? People were like, "Whoa!" I did a little bit on John Cena when he did his apology to China in Mandarin. You thought that was like a joke? That just represented where we are. He looked like he was a hostage victim. The phrase "made in Taiwan" can lead to delays, fines, and even the rejection of an entire shipment under the rule. So they don't want to lose the money. Taiwan itself requires exports to be labeled with the point of origin, either the name Taiwan or the country's official name, Republic of China. The choice to require suppliers to deny Taiwan's independence existence has led to criticism from around the world. But still, they're acquiescing. Apple may have felt as if it had little choice but to comply. Shipment delays now would be ruinous as the company moves into the final production phase for the iPhone 14. So that's just a fancy way of saying China rules Apple. So help me out. What would China ask Apple to do that Apple would say no to? That's the limit. I don't know where that limit is. The lines are very blurry right now. Who would Apple listen to more? A request from former President Donald Trump, or a request from China, the CCP? Xi Jinping. Who would they listen to more, Xi Jinping or former President Donald Trump? Who would Apple listen to more? A current president, if he ran and won in 2024, took office in 2025, who would they listen to more? Not that they have to listen to Donald Trump. That's not my point. My point is, who would they listen to more? They would have a choice. If Xi Jinping told them something that he wanted a request from them, and Donald Trump said, I wanted a request from them, who would they listen to more? I think that's an easy answer. They're going to listen to China. In America, they would probably get bonus points for not listening to Donald Trump. And there we are. And that's part of the reason Donald Trump is so important to get out of there. I think China was a little bit more upset about the trade war than they let out. That's what I'm seeing now, too, in my opinion. I think China does not want Donald Trump to become president again. They don't want those problems again. He was allegedly, from reading about the meetings, he was too hard to, he was too unpredictable. Joe Biden is, they're in lockstep. Xi Jinping will tell Biden something. Biden will probably be like, yes, sir. What is thy bidding, my master? Is basically how my impression is on how those conversations go. They didn't go like that with Trump. They probably didn't like that. And they have all this influence on us. That's the weight of the world. Looking at the updates here, we're still getting breaking news trickling in. We're seeing a lot of stuff all over the world. Everybody in the world, all eyes are on this thing. We're seeing Sky News in Australia. We're seeing, I'm seeing Canada. I'm seeing everybody is like, this is the big deal right now. And they are looking at our country, wondering what's happening. I don't care, but that's what they're doing. Let's take a listen in to what some people are saying in the streets. Let me see if I can find this here. Kind of feel like I want that vibe from what people are saying in the streets. If people are in the streets, I'm not saying you need to be in the streets, but looks like some people are. Okay, so this is from Twitter here. Thousands of Floridians driving now to Mar-a-Lago to show solidarity with Trump and protest FBI raid. I don't know. You tell me what you think about that as an option. To me, if you're going to do that, definitely don't do it at night. Because in Florida, you might be okay. So I see Ron DeSantis. I'm going to look that up real quick. I've not seen any message from Ron DeSantis. In Florida, you might be okay, but I would still not do it at night. Because you could still fall for that okie doke. All it takes is one of that T group to come on out and start something, pop it off, and there you are again. But Ron DeSantis, let me go see if I can find what he tweeted here. So Ron DeSantis did comment on the raid. Interesting that the FBI doesn't like the term raid. I don't know what they want us to call it. Unannounced visit. I mean, what do you want me to call it? So Ron DeSantis tweeted, "The raid of Mar-a-Lago is another escalation in the weaponization of federal agencies against the regime's political opponents, while people like Hunter Biden get treated with kid gloves. Now the regime is getting another 87K IRS agents to wield against its adversaries. Banana Republic." So that was from way earlier in the night. I had not seen that tweet. I don't know. Julie Kelly says, "I told you." She has been. If anybody can say "I told you so," it's Julie Kelly. Been on top of this from long ago. So let's go back. I'm going to go through. I just put together some tweets from this. I don't have everything in here, but just if you haven't been paying attention to the news or like the details of it, I started out saying that America will never be the same after today. What that is, it might be better. I don't know, but we're not going back to anything that you might have known February of 2020 or before. And really before Trump is where you might have thought we would go back to. That's not happening. So the FBI says as of this point, there are some leaks, but officially from the FBI, they have no comment. Officially from the Department of Justice, they have no comment. That is a concerning sign. That is concerning for this to have been planned out, and they can't even. I'm not saying they have to do a press conference. They don't have to do. Like Merrick Garland doesn't have to even do a press conference to me. AG. They just have to release a statement, and I don't know. They haven't. We saw this. We saw this escalating from the teachers. Remember the DOJ looking at teachers as basically domestic terrorists? Yeah. Not surprising that we're here. This is a heck of a quote here by Black Knight 10K. It's official. Mar-a-Lago has been raided by the feds. Buckle up, kids. We now have reached the find out portion of F around and find out. Courtesy of Merrick Mother effing Garland. That's the best way to summarize what's happened. There is no historical in America precedent. This leads to a bad place. If you haven't heard Donald Trump's statement, it is fairly long, but here's Donald Trump's statement right here. He said, "These are dark times for our nation as my beautiful home, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, is currently under siege, raided and occupied by a large group of FBI agents. Nothing like this has ever happened to a president of the United States before. After working and cooperating with the relevant government agencies, this unannounced raid on my home was not necessary or appropriate. It is prosecutorial misconduct, the weaponization of the justice system, an attack by radical left Democrats who desperately don't want me to run for president in 2024, especially based on recent polls, and who will likewise do anything to stop Republicans and conservatives in the upcoming midterm elections. Such an assault could only take place in broken third world countries. Sadly, America has now become one of those countries, corrupt at a level not seen before. They even broke into my safe. What is the difference between this and Watergate, where operatives broke into the Democrat National Committee? Here, in reverse, Democrats broke into the home of the 45th president of the United States. I will say the biggest difference is Watergate was not, and Nixon was not authorized. Watergate was not authorized. This was signed off by a federal judge. I don't know who the federal judge. I have not seen that yet. Do we know that? I don't even know if we know that yet. I'll have to check the updates on like New York Times or wherever. But isn't it so much like Trump to say, he starts out, like Trump is he had to have written this. Like nobody writes, "These are dark times for our nation." It's my beautiful home. It is beautiful. It's a compound. No wonder they were there all day. I mean, the thing is a monster. But only Trump would say, "These are dark times for our nation. As my beautiful home." We know you got a nice crib, Trump. Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach is currently under siege, raided, and occupied by a large group of FBI agents. There was something else that stood out to me there. What was it? Okay, sadly, America has now become one of those countries, corrupt at a level not seen before. Now we are seeing the ramifications of this two-tier system that a lot of people talk about. I think I put it in here. Did I put it in here? Breitbart had a good article. Let me find the Breitbart article. They had a good article that labeled, well, hey, they ran up in Trump's crib, but whose cribs could they have run up? If we were gonna do this, running up into political enemies' cribs, there's a lot of people's cribs that could be ran up in. Kind of like I went down with Hillary and all that, and they named names. So that's what you could see. That's why I'm not sure there is going to be a midterm. They're not going to be put in a position where you get heads of the different, appointed heads here, and Republicans take over, and they have a little bit of power in the House, maybe even the Senate, and then now you purge through however you do it, Schedule F or whatever it is, and then now you can run up in Hillary Clinton's crib. Now they're not going to allow that to happen. I don't see that happening. Oh, let me take a look. A side joke. Alan Dershowitz said Monday evening that the evidence seized by the FBI in a raid on former President Donald Trump's home would be ruled out if the raid were improper. Well, of course it would be. But we don't know if the raid was improper. A lot of people are talking about we don't know if they planted anything. Who knows? Who knows ultimately, but I highly doubt that. That would only hurt them more. I don't think they're going to be that brazen. Let me go to the comments here, get people's thoughts in here. Trump is, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Pissed off Zenio. Trump is hilarious even when being raided. That lets you know that if he didn't write that, somebody wrote it in his, that's exactly something he would say. Can you imagine Trump outside the crib, like, writing it out or whatever, talking to somebody, man, they're raiding my home, my beautiful home. It's the best compound in the U.S. He always over the top. But people love that about him now. It's just part of his charisma at this point. Either you hate it or you don't mind. Well, either you hate it or you love it. I think it's hilarious. Sign Deb, that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words. They are in panic mode. That's why I say ultimately this is a good moment. This is a white pill moment. I keep using white pill. I got to use other words, but optimistic. It's something that we can look forward to long term. We can't allow ourselves to get down. I had an interaction with somebody. I'm going to show it here. And I wanted to make sure that they knew it's important, why it's important to stay positive, and why I think truth matters. We are being dragged into postmodernism or a post-truth era, but that can't last forever. That's not possible. So here's the interaction I had. If I could share this. I think it's very relevant. So this is, there was a tweet. This is a great account, one of my favorite accounts. So this is the account where I got that Harriet Hagerman thing I played with Che, which is this video is. And I'm like, how did they make Harriet Hagerman seem hype? Like that's crazy, but it's a great video. But then underneath it, Faith Required, which is kind of ironic with the name Faith Required, but Faith Required said, yet nothing will change, only the illusion of change. And I could just feel it through Twitter that it was like, man, that's not normally how that account is. And it was kind of like negative, and we all can get negative. So I was like, So I just wanted to feel it out. I just want like, how do you know it's not? How do you know? Maybe you know information I don't know. So I was like, how do you know? How do you know nothing will change? I'm not even sharing my screen. Let me share my. How do you know this? Yet nothing will change, only the illusion of change. And it came off of this video. This is a great account here, Sicario Scott. And then somebody replied, faith required said, yet nothing will change, only the illusion of change. I was like, how do you know this? And then faith required said, well, I hope, of course, there is change for the better, but I do not have faith in the peddling going on. I hope more than anything my cynical self is proven wrong. That's a wrong I don't mind being. So I don't think it's not that negative, but I could see it. So then I played a clip. I was like, we just talked about that with Che. If you didn't get a chance to listen to it, this is just a minute and a half clip. And Che's name, he was a friend of show, guest on just yesterday or Sunday. And he got his name from Ernesto Che Guevara. Ernesto Che Guevara is one of the most savage far left figures that I'm aware of. And I would say kind of like the Steve Bannon to Fidel Castro, but in a more negative, in like a literal, this is like guerrilla warfare way. Steve Bannon is just political. But he was kind of like brains behind the operation, and Trump really doesn't have ideology. Castro was obviously more, I think, more in tune. But that even gives Che Guevara even more credit to be like the second in command type of guy to someone like Castro. And my point is, Ernesto Che Guevara said, when you go into political, he was talking about actual guerrilla warfare. You've got to go into it knowing that you're going to win. Similar to like a football game or something like that. That's why I like playing sports. You can't go into a football game thinking you're going to lose. And that came up, and here's how it went with Che just the other day.
Now, first of all, we're going to overcome all this. We're going to win this because this is just the natural law of life. I mean, we can't keep playing these games anymore. These people want us to believe things that don't exist, that are just not true. And I always say this, man, like, you have to submit to reality. I don't care if you think that you can fly and you can come to me and say, hey, Che, I believe I can fly. And I'm going to say, that's great. I'm glad that you think that. But the minute you say I'm about to jump off a 3-story building, I'm going to say, well, guess what? You're going to submit to reality very fast. And it's not going to be a good ending for you. So, that's why I think we're going to win. I mean, it's the truth. That's at the end of the day, it's the truth.
It's funny, Che. I subscribe to, because I've been going to the library, and going to the library now is not like going to the library when I went to the library with my parents. It's just, there's other stuff out there that you got to vet these books before. Not that, you can have whatever ideology you want, but you might bring something home you don't want. So I subscribe to this Brave Books. And it's funny you mentioned that. They literally have a book about an elephant who believes the elephant wants to be a bird, and the elephant climbs a tree and is gonna fly, just like you were saying. It's like, oh, and then the elephant fell. It's like, oh, you're not a bird. You do have to submit to reality eventually. You know who read the most recent Brave Books? Zuby. So the Brave Books that I'm talking about, let me show you real quick. Let me get back on the screen here. So the Brave Books, this is New York Post did an article on it a year ago. Conservative children's publisher Brave Books debuts with Elephants Are Not Birds. And I don't consider myself a conservative, but I don't mind the label. I just got the books because I know what they bring. And this is the book I was talking about. My wife just read it to our kids tonight. And it literally talks about the exact same thing that he talked about there. And that's the first book we got. You subscribe to it, you get a new book every month. There's a little game you can play. It's all wrapped up nice. The kids get excited. Love to see the kids getting excited about reading. But how does that play out in real life? Well, if this was, I think this was from a year or two. I think this was from 2 years ago. Mark Lamont Hill on with Candace Owens. And this is why it's important for us to sit down and talk. You want to talk about why we're going to win. The people on their side are not impressive. This is, if you don't know, this is Mark Lamont Hill. I have no beef with him at all. We just don't see the world the same way. But I will say he's unimpressive. PhD, all these credentials. They would probably call him the talented 10th. He's unimpressive. He's an unimpressive human being. Here's a short clip why. This was not even recent. This was like 2 years ago.
Is what I'm saying is more complicated.
But it's not complicated. Can men give birth?
Sometimes. That's my answer. Yes.
And the answer that is crazy. And this is we cannot.
Is what I'm saying is more complicated.
But it's not complicated. Can men?
Bruh. This. and I want to make sure it's clear. I'm not against anyone who, transitions or anything like that. And I will honor that. If you want to be called he, him, I will honor that. It's not against you. It's nothing against that. But this is just silly right here.
Is what I'm saying is more complicated.
But it's not complicated. Can men give birth?
Sometimes. That's my answer. Yes.
And the answer that is crazy. And this is.
He has a PhD. Come on, bro. And I tweeted that underneath, and the Twitter will hide it so nobody sees it. But he was making fun of somebody else, and I put that underneath. I was like, bro, calm down. You're not in any position to make fun of somebody. Oh my goodness, those are the best. That's the best they have. I'm not even joking. That's what are they genuine? No, I mean they're really smarter than they're showing. But the limitations of, being against God, the limitations of lying are restrictive. So I play that to say that's the ideology that we are going up against, and that is not going to win. You might delay the loss if you're in the cabal, but until they could take things over if they go back to the truth. They didn't need to get this radical away from the truth. That was a mistake. That was a huge mistake. There was no need for that. Because for them, if I'm giving the cabal, I'm going to put myself in their position, I'm going to stay based in the truth and then dabble out. And maybe that's what they used to do, but you can't get too far away from the truth because there's no turning back. There's no way to turn back on it once you get too far away. That's the huge problem. So I'll go to the chat here, see if what comments, how people are feeling. Who the F wears a Harriet Tubman shirt? That's when you try too hard. That's what that is. I don't know if it's like a brand or what. I don't know. But to me, the impression, unless I'm ignorant about something else, the impression is that you're trying too hard. It's the same thing. Colin Kaepernick was worse, but I believe he wore, I think he wore a Kunta Kinte shirt, did he? Colin Kaepernick wore, I believe he wore a Kente shirt to a workout. Yep. Colin Kaepernick wore a Kunta Kinte shirt to a workout. It's because your identity is all about this ideology. And it's I talked about it. It's one of their weaknesses is that they have to, I spelled it wrong. They have to, Kunta Kinte. They have to virtue signal. Have to. So he's on with Candace Owens, and that was in the before times. It would never sit down now, probably. Nobody, it's rare. We don't see too many sit downs like that together anymore. Especially, they don't want to do it. That's why they don't go on a Tim Pool show, because Tim, like, okay, no, this is the fact. And it's hard to combat that. He wore this Kunta Kinte shirt to a job interview, basically. It's a workout, football workout. It's a job interview. That's a great question. Who the F wears a Harriet Tubman shirt? Hey, Harriet Tubman is a great figure. We're not trying to say otherwise. It's just like, who wears that as a shirt, though? Someone who is trying too hard. That's why. I wouldn't even have a problem with the shirt if he had based ideology. So that's the real concern I have with him. I think most other, Nathaniel Erskine says, I think most other people are in an alternative reality. And that's where we are. A lot of people, we're in two different realities. There are people who are cheering this. Whether you like Donald Trump or not, this is not something to cheer. It's showing you how fragile the system is right now. And I think we can break it. We can build it back up. We got to break it down and build it back up. But that's how fragile things are right now. So I'm going on Twitter right now, seeing if there's anything new. I mean, right now we're looking at the East Coast. We're going on 1 a.m. So I doubt we're going to see like new breaking news or anything like that. But you never know. And I've missed a lot of news coming up. So yeah, I don't see anything here new. I'm still looking. Now there was, I'm going to play this video. The social credit score that's going on in China is still happening. It's still happening on a very big level. So I'm going to play this video here that this is from August 7th. So this is from yesterday. And I'm going to bring that up because that's, if I'm trying to put myself in their shoes. What are their next moves? They've already gone too far away from the truth. I've brought this up many times before, but the only other thing you can do is to literally force the thought. And one of the ways you can do that is through the social credit score. After this, I do have a very, I think an important discussion that's somewhat relevant to this in regards to CPAC and the fake J6 jail cell that was set up. So I'm going to do this social credit score, then I'm going to do that. I have a thread on that I want to talk about.
This is part of my daily routine in Beijing.
All right, getting my temperature check.
Mandatory testing for the city's 20 million plus residents.
So I've got to show them my passport and they have to type it in every single time.
Beijing halted almost all public activity for weeks over just a few dozen daily COVID cases.
Non-essential stores have been shut down, including schools and gyms, and all in-restaurant dining is banned indefinitely.
The capital recently reopened some venues like malls and parks with limited capacity, and visitors have to show proof of a recent COVID test. But still, the biggest crowds often appear to be parades of COVID workers, spraying disinfectant all over the streets.
So it's green, I'm good to go.
This is not 2020. This is right now, as of a couple days ago.
Go in. I need this green code to enter any area in Beijing. If it turns red, then I could be stuck at home or sent to quarantine. Through these smartphone apps, authorities can carefully track the movements of virtually all of China's 1.4 billion people. Grocery shelves here fully stocked. Beijing officials clearly trying to show people that no matter how long this partial lockdown lasts for, people are going to be fed.
Not like in Shanghai, where people struggled to get enough food when they were locked down.
This is a building where a positive COVID case has been found. You can see the workers in hazmat suits, the blue barrier around the building. This is to keep the people who live there locked inside, but it also serves as a warning to other residents. There's a fear that if you spend too much time by a lockdown building, your QR code could turn red.
Just one positive COVID case can get an entire building bussed to government quarantine. This is just one of the many high-risk areas in Beijing. Residents avoid even transiting through the red dots on the...
Yo, this is not a country that you want to have kinetic conflict with right now. We are in civil strife, a complete mess politically. Doesn't mean we can't go on, have fun with our lives, enjoy things, all that. But when we look at the structure of our country, we cannot ignore it is falling apart before our very eyes. While China, they've got more control over their population than ever. So if they need to ration that food that you saw in the grocery store, they can ration that food. Meaning you only get one of something that they can control it all. If they need to stop you from getting money out of your bank account, they can stop you from doing that. We're not set up like that, which is good. But you can see with all this civil problems that we have right now, that is not a condition that you want to go into war with. We've got too much uncertainty. We've got the midterms coming up. That would be a worst case scenario.
Map. It's lunchtime in Beijing's most popular food district. Normally people here would be gathered, crowded shoulder to shoulder, but now it is essentially a ghost town. And even here, there are signs reminding people to avoid crowds and security guards on the loudspeakers telling people to distance themselves. But after more than 2 years of these on and off restrictions, people are getting frustrated. Every part of our days are tracked and surveilled. People are concerned that this control is here to stay long after COVID is gone. And Becky, it sounds like a dystopian movie to have a colored code either give you access to society or send you to quarantine or keep you locked at home. But this is the reality of what we're dealing with in China. My daily routine every day is entirely dictated by the color of the code on my phone. If it were to go red, everything would be upended. And the way the technology works.
Understand, it can go red just because of where you've been. You can test negative and still get that red QR code because maybe we saw you walked within they saw you within 3 feet of someone suspected of having it. It could be that simple. Like she said, you're outside the building too long of where they found one case. Who knows? Who knows if they could just flip it red if they wanted to? What are the checks and balances?
Is rather opaque. So oftentimes the message is to be safe, to stay away from those high-risk areas. And across China, local governments are pouring so many resources into surveillance, into these lockdowns, into mass testing. By CNN's calculations, just 1 day of mass testing in Beijing is costing the city around $10 million. And health experts say more focus perhaps should be put on increasing vaccinations in China, especially among the elderly. And important note here that mRNA vaccines are still not available to the population here in China.
That's something else, isn't it? I'm no doctor. I'm not going to get into the doctor. I'm just, the medicine of anything here. It's just odd. Why do they not have the mRNA? And why are they, from what I've seen, producing the mRNA for us? That's weird. Anybody think that's a problem or a concern?
So the government here still calling zero COVID a success, a victory. So this type of new normal we're living, it's not going to go away anytime soon.
If it hasn't, I hate to break it to you. Like at some point, somebody's going to just rip the Band-Aid off. It ain't going nowhere. That type of control, they don't give that back. Where they do that at? They don't give that back very easily, let's just say. Look, I want to go through this thread. Well, the whole point I did the social credit score is I don't know if they can, I don't know how long that would take to implement, if they can still do that here. If I were the cabal, that's the number one thing I would want is the social credit score. Because once you do that, you're good. You could stop. I hate to even say this, God forbid. But you could stop like an Eric July. You'd be like, oh, you're working with this dude. This is a hate speech dude. Make his QR code red. Can't get funding for his comic book. Done. So it's not just about it's about culture too. Oh, I saw you in the chat for a video that was talking about this and asking questions about this and that. Well, everyone, because you would have to be you wouldn't be anonymous online. So they could just go, boom, everybody that was in the chat, boom, red or lower social credit score. Who knows if that's going to come or how long that would take. But if you're playing chess, that's what my concern would be. So this was a little bizarre when I first saw this. This happened August 4th, last week, 5th, Thursday, Friday at CPAC Dallas. That's Brandon Strzok and Marjorie Taylor Greene. I know. Someone replied in this thread and they said it looked like prawn. And I said, yes, it does. But it's actually brilliant. I want to give credit to Brandon Straka and Marjorie Taylor Greene, everybody else involved. I think it was important to discuss that, give my perspective. It's just opinion. You might disagree with me, but I think that this bizarre-looking scene is some of the most brilliant politics that I have seen in my lifetime. It's unique. I've never seen anything like this. Definitely not from Republicans. So this Vice reporter wrote an article on it in Vice News. So this is Miss Tess Owen, who Alex Stein just recently trolled for Vice News. And Vice News purports itself to be the definitive guide to enlightening information. So if you cover this, I need enlightening. If I ever needed enlightening in my life, it's about this. Help enlighten me. Why are they doing this? So Vice News, you seem like you would be the perfect entity to write on this. That's how I found out about it. Here's the tweet. Says, it looks like a screenshot from a prawn. True. Number one, no lies. But number two, when I first heard about this, I read about it through Vice News. I thought it was weird. I thought it was a weird, and I don't know if corny is the right way. And I know corny because I'm corny myself. But I was like, maybe it's corny, it's weird, it's corny. And I'm like, I know Marjorie Taylor Greene would never do anything disrespectful to J6ers. I'm not condoning those who, actually broke the law, but we just want their constitutional rights protected, because if you violate theirs, then you can violate mine. And I know she would never disrespect them, so I'm like, okay, maybe it was just you try to do something and you just fail. And then it took me a few days, literally 2 days, because yesterday, the 7th, is when I realized this, to realize how brilliant it was. We're going to see a lot of copycat political theater like this in politics. The left is not based in truth. So this is exactly the same. This is very similar to the Squad faking like they got arrested. The Squad faking like they got arrested, coordinated with the Capitol Police. That was political. That was a political stunt. It was all for show. It was nonsense. This is a political stunt too, but this one worked. That one didn't, because the other one wasn't based in truth. Number one, it wasn't shining a light to something that needed a light shined on it. It was all because of Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade is plastered everywhere. We already are aware of it. So your virtue signal to bring light to it did what? No, we are already talking about it. It's already on every corporate news outlet. So if you go viral in the fake arrest, you're not really bringing any more light to something. So why even do it? You see why I'm saying these are not impressive people. Marjorie Taylor Greene is impressive. I'm talking about the people and their fake progressives. They're not really on the left. We can work with true left people who used to support Bernie and then went over to Trump. We can work with true leftists. Those are not true progressive left, populist left. They're not impressive people. So that didn't work because who cares? We're already talking about it. Number two, Roe v. Wade, it really solidified the right of California. It wasn't, it solidified the right to Kansas to protect abortion rights. And it solidifies Indiana, who wants to eliminate. So what are you really protesting? You really want to get to the state level. So that didn't work, but this one did. And I'm going to tell you why it worked. So here's the details of kind of what happened. Attendees, they were given Bluetooth headphones and they were labeled silence on them. And on them, they heard audio accounts. So I don't know what was on there. I haven't heard the audio. It should be somewhere. I've played audio. I've played them singing the Star Spangled Banner before on this channel, thanks to Julie Kelly and America Greatness, her website. So they're hearing them talk, hearing accounts from them, the defendants from prison. So it's like haunting in your headphones. So you're getting an experience. Really good stuff. And shining a light on J6 defendants, to me, gives you some credibility because you don't get really promoted. You don't really get props. You don't really raise money. You do maybe from like you and I, common people, but corporations aren't backing this. That's for damn sure. You hear the populist left talk about, oh, we don't take money from corporations, all this nonsense. Of course they do, indirectly through these PACs and different ways that the other groups can influence elections. This right here is for real. If you're a corporation like MyPillow or whoever else that puts money behind Marjorie Taylor Greene and doing stuff like this, I think you're for real because you're swimming upstream. MyPillow got kicked out of Walmart recently. To me, is that fair? To me, that gives Mike Liddell, it gives him more credibility with me. He's putting his company on the line, his reputation on his line. Doesn't mean he's always right, but he gets credibility that, to me, I think he believes honestly in his cause. It's costing him money. So they give them these headphones and they're listening to these audio accounts of what's happening. Got to be really emotional. They had an actor in a mock cage on Thursday, August 4th. Strzok was in there on Friday, 8/5. And Laura Jadid recorded some footage that went viral. And here's what it looked like. Tell me if you've ever seen anything like this before. I think that's Strzok, right? That's Brandon Strzok. Barefoot in a cage. A fake cage at CPAC. I've never seen the right do anything like this before. And everybody's just in awe. Like, what is happening? And he's crying in there. I've never seen anything like that before. So I'm like, that's something to behold. This is new for me. Can somebody tell me if you've ever seen any type of political theater like that, especially from the right? I'm trying to think from the left. I'll show you an example from the left, but not exactly like that. At the actual convention, this is CPAC, but wow. So Vice and other outlets tried to paint it as bizarre. And I'm like, yes, it's definitely bizarre. But if that's your only take, and that was their only take, other than they tried to take a little shot at Brandon Strzok, which might be a legitimate one, they tried to make him look like a rat in the article. And there are people on the right who have a problem with him because it sounds like he cooperated with the feds. But I'm not getting into that topic. This is true, but not enlightening. It's true that it's bizarre, but what's happening? What's the impact? Why did they do it? And this is where the receipts where the writer called it bizarre. Okay, let's think deeper here. What's going on? We are witnessing a meteoric rise of performance art from the non-corporate left. You look at In Living Color back in the day, even Saturday Night Live back in the day, it was more based on reality, so you could be funnier. The left, Matt Walsh has this thing where he used to do, I don't know if he still does it, where he picks a leftist comedian and he says, make me laugh. And he'll play the video and he won't laugh once throughout the whole video because it's not funny. It really isn't funny. Babylon Bee deserves credit. They've risen on up. Very powerful. So powerful, they had to get booted off of Twitter. Skits from people like Ryan Law. Check out this. You might have seen this in one of his most recent uploads. Ryan Long talking about raising a dog to be anti-racist.
My name's Toby, and I am a racial sensitivity trainer for dogs. Hey, look it. Watch Robin. Dogs sense the racial biases of their owners. So what you want to do is every time you see a person of color, just kind of do a big smile. Let them know they're in a happy place. If a white person does walk by, you're going to want to give them a little bit of a growl. In an ideal world, we can kind of get them growling at white people, sort of close the growl gap. We call this exposure training. Look at this. Just take a peek. Sometimes they don't want to look, but Pepper, there's nothing to be afraid of here. Do not avoid this man. And after making positive connotations with those photos, I like to present negative connotations with some of these photos. Oh, look, Pepper, he's attacking your owner. Get him. This dog is trying to get away from me personally, which is a good sign, wants nothing to do with me right now. In a perfect scenario, the dog attacks me. That's how I know I've really done the work. Forget what you may have heard and take a look. Do you think you're about ready to go home and binge watch the entire anthology of Judge Joe Brown? My name's Toby, and I am a racial sensitivity trainer for dogs.
So
look it. Watch Rob.
So I just clipped it up to about a minute from Ryan Long. It was a good one. Ryan M says, Vice says it's bizarre. Laugh out loud. That's rich. Guess they forgot all the environmentalists doing die-ins in the middle of the streets. Word. Yeah, that's not weird. No, they don't label that as weird. That is definitely more weird. So Ryan Long, Babylon Bee, the non-left, they are taking over this lane of comedy and culture. And then who's taking it to another level? Maybe there's other people, but I haven't seen anybody doing what Alex Stein is doing. He had a crazy debate recently. Maybe I'll do another video. I don't want to get too far off topic because I think this does tie into a reason to be optimistic and what happened with Donald Trump, in my opinion. I'll get to a point here in a second. But so I'm saying, how did we get to this point of this fake jail cell in CPAC? Alex Stein is a part of this. Babylon Bee is a part of it. Ryan Long is a part of it. They have the blueprint, the idea. Alex Stein has been a pioneer in this, and I've just found out about him. And the first video, this isn't it, but the first video during the pandemic that I saw from him, I thought it was real. I didn't know. Well, I thought it was real, but I didn't know for sure. And that's exactly what he tries to do. This is I'm going to play this clip here. This is far more powerful than a 1-hour show on CNN. It's blending the culture of comedy with politics in real life. This is brilliant.
Alexandria Hayden.
Listen, counsel, with the overturning of Roe versus Wade, what is happening now is you are limiting what I can do with my vagina. First of all, you dictated where I could take a number 2. You tried to tell me that, I couldn't go in a woman's restroom. But now you have Governor Abbott saying that I can't have an abortion. I can have an abortion. You have to take your hands off my vagina right now. You do not own my uterus. The uterus is mine. It is a clump of cells in there. We need to take that clump of cells and destroy it like this paper. Just take the clump because it has no life. It has no meaning. That's what is inside my body. But Governor Abbott is trying to get inside here and trying to dictate what you're doing with my body. You don't own my body. You don't own my body. I deserve same access to an abortion. You know that. I know that. I want an abortion now, and I want it right now and then. That's what I want. I want an abortion. You don't slavery. So I beg you, if you're watching out there, please we need to change the federal law. I can't get an abortion if my life is ruined. You trying to make it right to change the
That's your time. Clean up on aisle 1. Can you take that paper with you? Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you.
So I criticized Alex Stein, and I want to make sure that it's like 99% praise, and not just praise of him, the highest of praise. That is brilliant. He was on with Tim Pool. It was a good episode. They spent a little bit too long arguing the moon situation, but I don't blame them. Sometimes you get in that discussion. It's still a great episode. And he talked about it, like a little bit of insight. Go watch the episode. It is, I forget the number, but just search, YouTube, Timcast IRL Alex Stein. Watch the clip. There's a 15-minute clip. I recommend watching the whole 2.5 hour, whatever episode. So he can cross the line sometimes, and I will say when he does. But how do you test yourself if you don't cross the line? Like, I'm thinking about that in my work, real work life, not hobby, but in my hobby too. Like, how do I want to get up to the line to test yourself. Do I need to do street stuff or whatever? It's probably not going to be it. But I'm just thinking about how do I'm thinking about, for example, how do I test myself, my boundaries? I am actually doing a website. It's pretty much almost ready. It's very simple, but almost ready, done. And I'm like, okay, I can use Rumble. There are so many things that are like R-rated, can't talk about YouTube. I can do maybe on the website. It's on Rumble too, so you can just subscribe to Rumble or Odyssey or Locals, or go to the website and see these clips where it's R-rated type stuff. So I'm testing my boundaries. He tested his boundaries. He crossed the line for me with the AOC, with the Big Booty Latina. I don't think he had any bad malintent, but he's not evil. He's providing a bucket of cold water in the face of idiocracy. It's not something that can be done without, well, maybe there's other ways. What I really mean to say is it can't be done with like what I do, just, talking about stuff. And he's going to talk about that here, like a little bit of insight. Why is he doing this?
I would go to city council meetings at the very beginning, of the COVID pandemic, and I would talk seriously, and they wouldn't pay attention. They would look at me like I was an idiot, like a conspiracy, theorist, which I am, a tinfoil hat wearing. But my point being is you couldn't evoke a response. And then one of the first meetings is we have Mayor Johnson. He's a nice guy, and I said, they're pushing the vaccine real hard. I said, you should offer free vaccines in the gay neighborhood. You should call it Eric Johnson's Free Johnson & Johnson, because the gay community will love the double entendre. And since you're the first openly gay mayor of Dallas, they'll really love it. He's not. He's married with kids. And he was shook. He was just, his face like a pumpkin. He was just like, what? And that's when I kind of realized, all right, I have to troll these people. And my comedic hero is Andy Kaufman. And what he did brilliantly is he blended the line of reality and fiction so you couldn't tell. I would go to city council meetings.
He sounds like an accountant when he's talking seriously. He said, I used to go to these city council meetings and I would be respectful to them, and ain't a damn thing happen. It's a waste of time, at least his experience. So in the days of he's not reaching anybody, he's wasting his time, he's treating people with respect that don't treat him with respect. So he's like, wait a second. I can test the boundaries here. I'm not doing anything illegal. We'll see what they try to do. I bet you they try to change some rules to stop them, because this is a game of chess. You make a move, they make a move. But right now, he's like, I can do this. I throw a bucket of cold water on people's face to show how ridiculous they are, and it goes viral. And I can, maybe he makes money off it, which is great. So you can fund yourself, so you can go keep on doing it. He actually has a song with Bryson Gray that's cool. He's the pioneer of this stuff. to me, or I think, and he was on with Marjorie Taylor Greene on her podcast. So this performative art is a medium the corporate left used to control. Like I said, for it to have impact, it has to be based on truth, or it's not funny, it's not impactful. They're so far, they can't grasp it without admitting their lies. They are getting owned by MTG. MTG tweeted, she was basically explaining on Twitter why she did the J6, in my opinion, because I don't think she really labeled it that way. But so she said, performative art is very effective. Never forget the left's performative or performance art. Here's Kathy Griffin with the Trump head. Cross the line, but it's the same performance art. So Marjorie Taylor Greene's doing that. The right, so the left wants you to see President Trump unlived. The right wants you to see the two-tier justice system in America and what real political persecution looks like of J6 defendants. Are we starting to see the brilliance of it right now? Yeah, it was basically Alex Stein does it to make you laugh. Whoever set it up, Marjorie Taylor Greene participated, set that up to make you cry. Even Vice had to acknowledge the impact. Also, freelance reporter Laura Deed, who I consider an anti-populist, that's what I'm going to call these corporatists now, these zombies, these NPCs. They are anti-people. They are anti-populists. Laura tweeted this video on her account, and this video on her account got 2.6 from today, 2.6 million views. You couldn't, they don't have Marjorie Taylor Greene on CNN to talk about J6. So how did she do it? Or how did they do it? They put a fake jail cell on CPAC, put the voice of the J6 defendants in people's ears, had Brandon Strzok and another actor crying and in there interacting, and your imagination goes to that place and you see something that could be out of sight, out of mind. They don't let you visit them, obviously. So if they're out of sight, and I've been wondering, I'm like, are they still in there? Well, I know now, but throughout the past year, I've been like, are they still in there or not? I didn't even know. 2.6 million. They can't get that off anything on CNN. They can't get that off of corporate media. And who tweeted it to get the 2.6 million? It wasn't Marjorie Taylor Greene. It was an anti-populist. You got played. And I don't blame you, because it was so bizarre. You wanted to share it and you knew it would get views. But you see the brilliance? You see why I have hope? They got Laura Deed to tweet about J6. How many of those 2.6 million views are people that had their eyes open like, is this really going on? How many of that 2.6? I bet you at least 10%. That's 260,000 people. That might be a conservative estimate that would maybe do another Google search like, are J6 defendants still in jail? They didn't know. I mean, it's beyond brilliant. I don't have the vocabulary to say what it is. Laura Jaheed had to acknowledge the impact. Some with tears in their eyes. One man wearing a T-shirt saying Correctional Officers for Trump 2020 pointed at his chest, making sure the jailed activist saw and said, I know how it works, man. Like in solidarity with it, supporting it. Everybody rallying around it. This is from now Tess Owens, an anti-populist, in her article, The Vice News, where she wanted to call it bizarre. She actually had to acknowledge it had emotional impact. Some spectators wept. There's no speech that's making people weep right now. So it's affecting the anti-populists. They're spreading the news. Those who really care are emotionally affected. Do you think the people who saw that are more likely to tell a friend, look what I saw at CPAC. Let's donate to MAGA. Let's write our Congress person. Let's make sure we vote. Spreading the word. Some threw money in the cage. Others came up close to mutter words of comfort and support to an actor because they feel maybe guilty. Like I said, tears in their eyes. Whoo. I can't do a video, and I mean, some people, you can't do a video and make people, not do you want to make people cry, but to have that impact. People knew reporting like what we saw from Vice News is awful work. People already know that Vice News does awful work. Now, some of their reporting is good. I'm not everything, but like this piece here, people know that's awful work. All the piece did basically was say this was bizarre and just did a little hit on Brandon Strzok, make them look like radical idiots, and then move on. Even people, anti-populists, know that's garbage work. If they would have said it was bizarre and provided fair context, I don't think most people would have had a problem, because I think that would be true. Instead, they have an agenda and completely missed the big takeaway. That's why people don't trust these corporate media outlets. That's why they're losing influence. There's going to be more of this. You're going to see people copycat. And the reason why I put this video up here is Alex Stein doing the exact same thing. If Tess Owen would have written the piece fairly, called it bizarre, but said, hey, they're doing some creative stuff here, whether you like it or not, that type of thing, I don't think Alex Stein would have rolled up on CPAC like this, disrespectful.
So this is the Vice reporter. You can tell the only one in a mask here. So how are you doing?
Just doing my job.
She's here trolling everybody here. So she's the only one here in a mask, and she's just saying negative stuff. I can't believe they let you in here. Do you feel like you're lying or sheep in the lion's den?
I have credentials to be here. So.
Yeah, so do I. But I'm saying, see, this is Vice, guys. This person, she's trying to troll this event. She thinks all of you guys are losers. So that's what she posts on the internet. She posts the most out of context stuff. See, Vice is the worst media company there is. They're all liars. So what do you think about your crappy media company?
Just do my job and keep it private. When you're being here, you can take it up with CPAC.
I know, but don't you think Vice is a bunch of liars?
No, I'm very proud.
Oh, you're proud of, you guys mainly talk about drugs. Are you a drug addict too? Like all the Vice content you make? Guys, this is the Vice. This person, she's a loser right here. She's the only one in a mask. You see this? This is what a loser looks like. She's got her coronavirus. How many vaccines do you have? Are you on your 5th vaccine?
It's none of your business.
Oh, it's not? So why do you want to mandate them if it's none of my business? Are you pro-vaccine mandates? Oh, it's none of my business, but she's pro-vaccine mandates.
Look at these people when they get questioned. That's why they don't come on shows, like I said, where you're based in truth. Look at how she got done. The questions, everything he's doing here is fair. This isn't the AOC thing where I thought it was inappropriate to hit on her. I know I did it. This is everything is fair. He just asked how many V's you got. Then so she's not playing. He's beating her at the game of chess. She'd be better just to shut her mouth because she's getting destroyed. Then she said it's none of your business, and you can see the look on his face. He's like, oh, it's none of our business now. Gotcha.
Guys, you see this? This is what a Vice journalist looks like. She comes here. This is what a Vice journalist looks like in her little mask at the conservative event. Now she's scared and getting attention.
I'm getting married in 2 weeks. That's why.
Oh, that's great. You're getting married. I wonder how many vaccines he has. Is your husband, is he vaccinated? Is he vaccinated too? Why don't you put this on your Vice? Why don't you put this on your Vice? See, Vice they won't cover Primetime 99 Alex Stein. See, Vice is a liar. She's a liar. And then when you call her out, she walks away. She's scared. She's the only one in a mask here. She probably has the coronavirus and the viral shedding. You guys see, this is a Vice journalist. It's a lying media company. So do you feel uncomfortable now being here?
I don't feel uncomfortable. I'm just here to do my job.
Well, I don't want to get viral shedding, but how many vaccines do you have? Do you think Joe Biden's a good president? Does inflation affect you? Do you think the country's doing well?
Why are you? Yeah.
Oh, look at this, a Vice alert! Vice alert! Let's get a photo. Yeah, I'm Primetime 99. The Vice is a lying media company. They lie. So am I. I'm a credentialed reporter. Oh, you see? Yeah, I'm a credentialed reporter too. Oh, I'm Vice. I'm a liar.
Huh?
These guys are cowards and liars.
Get wrecked. Politically, socially clowned. get wrecked. Fair questions. There's nothing there. It's not my style. You'll never see me do that. Don't get me wrong. But everybody has their own role to play. Excellent work. That's what we're seeing. That's the context that needs to happen. A year ago, I criticized Marjorie Taylor Greene for being too performative. I was naive.
Being funny, getting views and likes is...
I was naive to... So some of it I still stand on, but I put this up here to show more of how or why I was wrong.
Being funny, getting views and likes does not make you populist. It makes you popular, but for me, you're not doing it through the legislation. Lauren Boebert's good at it, great at it. So is Marjorie Taylor Greene. You might have heard her smack talk at the Trump rally last week.
Led by AOC, the little communist from New York City. That's right. Yeah, lock her up too. That's a good idea.
Then AOC, she can clap back with the rest of them. She's another one of those politicians that's a terrible legislator, but great at social media. You might have seen her clap back where she said, first of all, I'm taller than her. Very succinct, perfect social media post. She's a pro at that. Unfortunately, she's not really a pro at working with Republicans. She's not even a pro at getting progressive things done in bills in Congress. Lauren Boebert, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they basically went to Congress to become YouTube channel stars. It's really just a stepping stone to their social media career. And then there's this pesky responsibility of actually getting legislation passed that matters to the people you represent.
So I play that to show how I was wrong. So some of it I stand on. Ultimately, if you're not representing through legislation, you're not doing anything. But let's be real. Yeah, they are doing it to be a social media star. That's before I realized how important, that's a culture thing. If we have gridlock, then what are you going to do? I talked about this, the squad getting arrested is the same type of stunt. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think she would work with a true populist left. Blocking this, a true populist left would agree blocking this IRS expansion, being pro 2A, anti-illegal immigration, pro-legal immigration, but anti-illegal immigration, anti-intervention, wars, getting involved in other people's affairs, pro-free speech, pro-federalism. So there's a lot that you could work on with a true progressive left, but there's none in there. There's no one there. Ilhan Omar, I showed this earlier. She was endorsed by Nancy Pelosi, and she celebrated it. That means her and the whole squad obviously are fakes. It would be like Marjorie Taylor Greene getting endorsed by, Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell's like I know that's the Senate, but the male version of Nancy Pelosi. And then celebrating it. That's not happening. So that's my take on the importance of it. And I think that gets me hype. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Alex Stein. Oh, shoot. Sorry, yeah. I do need a moderator. Somebody is spamming. There's a spam in the chat. Let me get that. Thank you. I will have to set that up. I don't even know how to do it. It's probably pretty simple. I have not dealt with it yet. So yeah, that's all I had for tonight. We'll find out more. I'll be reading more details, digging into what's going on with Trump. I'm just going to check real quick and see if there's anything new that came out. Anybody see anything new that's come out with obviously Trump getting raided by the FBI? One of the more crazy things that we've seen politically. It's funny how, so many people kind of like, oh, they don't really know or care. It's really, and it's fine. You live your life. You don't have to. I think there is a danger, though, of being too ignorant. I think there's a danger right now because this is spilling over into more than just This is not Mitt Romney. I always use Mitt Romney versus Obama. This is not Mitt Romney versus Obama. This is stuff that's spilling into, you can't separate this from your everyday lives. So I really think this is something that people should be paying attention to. It was interesting how the FBI said they don't want to use the term raid, and you're seeing outlets changing their headlines to not use that term. And I would challenge the media outlets, you've got to be separate. I mean, you can't be so in tune with the government that they say change that you change. That's craziness. So right now, let me see if I'll look in the top articles here, see if there's anything popping off. I mean, not literally, but they were talking about Donald Trump and Mark Milley earlier. That news is old. Wow, it's still number one, but that's old news at this point. I'm going to go to they were showing pictures of the toilet where he allegedly flushed the documents, which I guess is true. I just haven't looked at that very closely. So here it is, updates. Are they still doing live? No, it's not live, so it's done for today at least. So the news here on Trump, search appears to be focused on materials Trump took from the White House. That's what we knew. Just looking to see if we have any new stuff. They took out some boxes contained many pages of classified documents. It was weird because they were working together. Why would you need to do a surprise raid? They were in communication, unless they said they weren't. They would have to say, they're going to have to say Donald Trump was not cooperating, because otherwise you wouldn't need to do a surprise raid like that, which is very dangerous. Part of the reason, like I said, is to try to gaslight people into making mistakes so you can get hemmed up. If you are going to protest or do anything like that peacefully, then stay way from D.C. or any blue area of this country. Do not do it in any blue area. That would be a huge mistake. The Justice Department has stepped up its separate inquiry into Trump's efforts. So that's the other part. I didn't talk about this much. There's a lot going on with Trump. You got the J6, you got this National Archives. I think those are two completely separate things. So if they, in the process of looking for this one, I mean, you got to see what the warrant says, but you're really conflating things. And it's funny, with the Alex Jones trial, his lawyer accidentally, hell of an accident, leaked all of his text messages to the opposing lawyer. And then they sent it over to the J6 committee. How does that work? So you imagine you're on trial and your own lawyer accidentally leaks all your text messages, whether you have anything in there bad or not. That's not what you want. And then he leaks it to the opposing attorney. Then that opposing attorney turns it over to the J6 committee. All of it. Woo. Seems like a lot of stuff is coming together, and we're seeing kind of the reasons why things are happening, and the walls are closing in, and we're not even past Labor Day. That's when I said it was really going to get crazy. It's when we got past Labor Day. But just going through, this is basically the research I would be doing on my own anyway. So let me go through. I'd be reading it slower. But Eric Trump, one of his sons, told Fox News that he was the one who informed his father that the search was taking place. Whoa. I did not know that. Let me back up a little bit. Of course not. The search doesn't mean he determined that he committed a crime. But you don't do a raid like that if you're not sure you're going to find something. I mean, you can't play games like that. Well, they might, but okay. We're in that F around and find out both sides right now. Mr. Trump was in the New York area at the time of the search. Another day in paradise, he said Monday night during a telephone rally for Sarah Palin, who's running for a congressional seat from Alaska. Eric Trump, one of his sons, told Fox News that he was the one who informed his father that the search was taking place. How did that happen? Now, I really got to get a timeline of this. That's the big thing. And he said the search warrant was related to presidential documents. Mr. Trump, who campaigned for president 2016, criticizing Hillary Clinton's practice of maintaining a private email server. Yeah, I'll have to go through some of this. A lot to go through. Wow. And I'm not even versed on the National Archive story. I always wanted to go back. I touched on it, but I never got into. I do not have full command of that, so I got to go into it. What type of archives are we talking about? I don't even know for sure. How serious are they? I think they said some of it was classified, but a lot of stuff is classified, so hard to tell. All right, take a look at the comments. Thanks for stopping by. School the World says most normal people don't like politics. Actually, I don't like them, but it's required to understand what's going on instead of sticking your head in the sand. Yes, I actually do like it, but I've been more into it. Somebody asked me about Kevin Durant, basketball player, where is he going to go? And I was like, I have some ideas, but I really haven't been following that closely. I've been following politics. They may have to go and change the definition of a raid. Yeah, they're pretty much right before our very eyes. They just did that. The FBI informed Secret Service 1 hour before they got there. They started at 9 o'clock a.m. And thank you for the information, School the World. They started at 9 a.m. and finished at 6:30. It's a big compound, so they had to probably search everything, or I don't know what the warrant was for. I want to know how many agents. They called, so they called 1 hour before, so they called at 8 a.m. So when did DeSantis find out? That's my next question. I want the whole timeline. So that'll be what I'll be working on, is trying to, first I want to know what the timeline of everything is. And I have to go back to this National Archive thing. The National Archives, do they have an enforcement arm? What is the National Archives? Do they have guns too? They have I don't know if they do or not. I have to look that up. It almost feels like they have an enforcement branch or something. But I don't know if we've ever seen executive branch versus prior executive branch. When Joe Biden, because with the executive privilege with Steve Bannon, Joe Biden could have upheld executive privilege I think he could have upheld it for Bannon. And Joe Biden didn't want to do that. And I don't know if that's ever happened before. So there really should be no surprise that we're here. There's a lot of series of never happened before, or rarely happened before that takes us to here. So thanks a lot for listening. We'll do that research, have a video out tomorrow. For anyone hanging on, if you're interested, I am not a promoter, man. I gotta get my promoter game up. But I posted it in the community center section. Right now the channel is demonetized. That is correct. We'll see if I can get it remonetized in the future. I actually have two. I don't think I posted both of them. I do have I did this before the Trump raid. This is very appropriate after the Trump raid now. MAGA versus the machine. And it's my way of trying to say, don't look at MAGA as part of the machine. I think some people are trying to conflate that. Just a short, simple design. Then I got another design that I would say more Tesla-ish, more tech-ish. Spaced out the MAGA. I'm not a designer, so this is me. This is how I stretch myself, trying to do some design stuff. I might work with people on Fiverr to see if I can get some better designs, but MAGA versus the machine. A little bit more of a, let me share my screen here. More of a tech-ish one. See what people think about it. It's really, with Teespring, It's pretty easy to just do a picture and put it on a shirt. So MAGAverse the machine in different colors, and then got the gray one here. I think I got better feedback from this one. So I already ordered some to rock on the channel. Check it out if you want to support. That's one way. I'm going to find other ways to support as well, like links and stuff like that, because who knows, the channel might never be monetized again. So appreciate your support. Thanks a lot for hanging out. Take care.